Remember, I've been discussing that Dubai is the poster child of the post-energy economy, and Abu Dhabi is following suit. I mean, Abu Dhabi isn't just an oil-rich nation. They've been doing the same stuff Dubai has as well. Obviously, I've been there many times. I've been to these major developments over there where they're just building up incredible properties all over, what is it called? Saadiyat Island, near that Kelly Slater's surf wave park. If you haven't been there, bro, you've got to check it out. It's incredible. The real money comes to Abu Dhabi, and then you got the family offices. You know that foreign direct investment from the big boys is coming to Abu Dhabi. So although Dubai is important and it will eventually prosper, even without Dubai's tourism right now, you've got your import, re-export. They're still operating. You've got Abu Dhabi. You've got real estate in Abu Dhabi. They've proved their Iron Dome system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it's not nice hearing missile interceptions at night, they've also got an enormous sovereign wealth fund. Basket. I want to check out how much their sovereign wealth funds are today. Sovereign wealth funds, UAE, today holdings. Let's just presume these numbers are correct. 1.7 trillion. That puts them in like number 3 or 4 spot. Man, that's crazy, bro. Do you know how much money that is for a small nation? So they just have too many layers of defense in order for them to go to zero, unlike a place like Kuwait and Bahrain, which are effectively beholden to what these other GCC states do. I believe Bahrain is in debt to the UAE anyway. Let's check that.
So Bahrain, you would say this is a great move by the UAE?
Yeah.
Great move.
Bahrain is heavily indebted to the UAE and other Gulf neighbors, relying on their financial support to avoid default. Yeah, I've known this for a while, man. They got debt exceeding 130% of GDP. And remember, Bahrain is not the USA where they control the monetary system. That's bad. That's basically like saying you can't repay your debts and you're just continually refinancing because politically speaking, the GCC nations, it was in their best interest to help them out. But in the future, I'm not so sure. Bahrain and Kuwait and all these other GCC nations, man, I would be shaking in my boots right now if I was their leadership. Yep. Who knows what they're going to do? But you got to think of it like this. It's not like these countries are going to collapse. It's more going to be like this. The top Gs like UAE, Saudi, maybe even Qatar are going to make them offers they can't refuse as long as it benefits them more than places like Bahrain. So what places like the UAE typically do is they'll make a deal with another country, whether it be a trade deal, a security deal, Abraham Accords. They say, look, we'll make that deal, but it's a little bit of a better deal for us than it is for you. Before, that's not how it worked for the UAE. They were early, but they obviously always had ambitions to be independent, and now they have so many levers to pull. If you know anything about UAE's economy, that fuck man, they're in such a strong spot. But this is where if someone who's really ideological, they can't handle it because UAE is close with Israel, they're close with Washington. Soz, bruh. You can't pull that card if you are a devout Muslim and you're anti-Jew or anti-Zionist or whatever it is. You just can't do that because the UAE is not playing your game. They're playing to win and they're Emirati first, period. So I think moving forward, this is a great move for the UAE. It's a great move for expats who are invested in the UAE. It's great for us. It's a move I wasn't sure they were going to pull out because those Saudi UAE tensions, I mean, I think they were at a point where I don't think any of us were thinking that there would be bloody conflict, but the idea at least was for people like us normies that Saudi was more powerful than the UAE, militarily speaking. But now that line is becoming more blurred, like, I'm not sure. And there's a variety of reasons military experts can chime in on that. But now, how it feels, bro? This is how it feels to me. It feels like MBS, who I believe is a great ambitious leader as well, is thinking, fuck, if oil prices don't stay high and this post-energy economy thing doesn't work out for us real soon because we need to see a return on our investments because we want to basically copy Dubai but just bigger, we're fucked because we have a population of 35 million people. There's like 18 million Saudis. There's only 1.2 million Emiratis. It's much harder for him to look after these people. And with all due respect to the Saudis, prior to MBS's plan to integrate his citizens in the workforce, they were just being lazy, like just getting up whenever, having coffee, working from 10 to 2 p.m. on government jobs that they weren't even real jobs, half of them. They weren't really being productive because they didn't need to. But in order for them to expand and be this post-energy economy, they're going to have to get off their ass and work.
Bro, I get invited to these government offices and I go in there and they're like, everyone kind of stops as if like there's a guest here and they all go to the within their office, I've got a majlis area. They go in there, the Pakistani man comes with like a coffee or a tea and they sit there talking. Yes, this person does this. Like we're there for an hour, bro. This is an office. Who's doing any work?
No
people
work is
supposed to be
getting
here
done.
doing work? Yeah, it's just basically an area for people to more socialize in. So I want to talk about, is this a calculated move could this gamble backfire and crash the price
Of oil?
of oil?
Short term, no, because although the UAE is a major producer of oil, I think they only make up 10 to 13% of OPEC. So the Strait of Hormuz is closed anyway. So we're going to still see a reduction of oil flows because of that. But long term, yeah, it'll bring the price of oil down a lot. I don't know how much, but it's a cascading effect. So they leave, someone else leaves, America is energy independent, and this cascade effect brings the price of oil way down again. Now, if you're an oil trader, you're someone who understands this industry so deeply that you understand the military industrial complex and you understand OPEC, OPEC plus, and you have an analysis that I don't have. You know, I'm a macro guy, but these guys are specialists within oil. And I've met a couple of these guys in Perth. I met a guy, I told you about this guy, that's how he made all his money. He was a chemical engineer. He was in the oil industry. He's old now. He's like 70 years old. And he bought one of those apartments there at the Echelon. He's wealthy as fuck. You know, he's got A12 GTs, Ferraris, everything. And that's all he does, bro, to this day.
Oil.
That's all he does. He waits and he just, every day he follows macro geopolitics. And he's like, every time there's a crisis, I make money. And bro, he's one of those guys that when he goes all in, he goes all in because he knows with certainty there are some margins, and I don't know much about trading. He knows he's got some safety there. He knows it's going up. He might not know how much, but it's going up higher than this, and I'm going to make a lot of money on a very small margin here.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's making a lot of money right now, and let me show you. That is the price of Brent crude at $113.
Yeah, and did I not say 120 plus Brent crude? Should this ceasefire continue and the Strait of Hormuz is continually closed? Bro, I was saying this and you had the kiss asses of the GCC and the people that are talking about all of this stuff is nothing. I'm thinking, bro, even if the Strait of Hormuz opened today and it was over today, you're not considering the backlog. Every day this is closed is major news for the future. We discuss this. People can't think 10 steps ahead, let alone 2 steps ahead. And what we're seeing right now is the result of this backlog. So even if it opens today, don't expect all of this to just go away tomorrow. It's not how this works, bro. People talk about Australia taking, more control of their resources. I'm like, yeah, even if they started today, change policies, started bringing more hardware, blah, 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 that's going to take a decade or two, bro, before you actually see the results.
Yeah,
they have fucked the country over decades, and it's going to take decades to bring it back, unfortunately. But people want this tomorrow. It's not happening, bro. I'm sorry. It's not happening.
I want to talk about global impact. So once the UAE starts increasing production independently, how does that ripple into inflation, interest rates, and global markets?
So when you bring down the price of oil, which that move will, because there'll be a cascading effect, other countries will follow suit. They're not beholden to the quota. Let's say it takes, 6 months or whatever it does to bring oil down. Well, now inflation, at least that portion of inflation will come down. But there are other ways that inflation can go up. That's just one part of it, bro. That's why macro is so hard to predict, because that's one moving part, bro. Now, I argue it's the second largest moving part. The largest moving part is what the US does with the fucking printer. I mean, if they get in a mood and just think, fuck it, we're going to print more because we want to invade some cunt. Well, that's, in my opinion, the primary driver of inflation. And number two will be oil prices. Yeah, no, that's number two for me. But there are other things, bro. There's pandemics. You know, there are
Pandemics.
yeah, there are just other global catastrophes that can affect CPI, you know, or monetary inflation. And I'm not able to tell you exactly what's going to happen just because the UAE is producing more oil. But overall, generally speaking, this is good for the consumer. This suggests that if that was the only thing that changed, then oil prices come down. How's that sound?
If I click my fingers right now and I switch bodies with you and MBS, and you are now the ruler of Saudi, what's your next move?
Man, I don't know because I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And now, how do we know or not know if MBS and MBZ have already had this chat? Like, they're close enough to not want to get in a drama, in a physical drama, because, bro, as much as Saudi is a major power in the region or the major power, war's still not good for them. They're building out a fucking tourist-centric economy. And it's not like the UAE are ants. They've proved their Iron Dome. You know, they are close to Washington. Saudi might be a little closer to China when it comes to this stuff. Maybe, UAE is closer to the IDF and the USA. Bro, Abraham Accords, you can't just like brush that aside. So I think both of them are not interested in a bloody conflict, especially when you have Iran looming over their heads as well. So I don't fully believe they're just ignoring each other, right? I don't think that they are, but I could be wrong. This could just be a period where you've got MBZ backed in a corner, MBS backed in a corner, and they're like, we don't want to do this either. But if this is an existential threat, this stuff is, to me, unlikely. But I tell you what I thought was unlikely as well. I thought Iran sending a drone to that fucking hotel in the middle of the Palm was super fucking unlikely. I think, agree?
100%.
Like, that was fucking... I think the Dubai airport receiving a drone, even though they're small, was super unlikely. If someone told me that it would happen a year ago, I'd be like, fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, bro.
Yeah.
It's the Middle East, bro. It's the Middle East. These guys, bro, the Middle Easterners, brah. I know. Not only because we've lived there, not only because you're born in Iran, not only because I've dealt with so many Arabs in Australia, they're just different, bro. They're not Indonesians. You feel me? Da linya.
Da kaktila. No, look, they're very intelligent. They're very intelligent and they're very calculated with the decisions that they make. I just think to myself, how would this affect? I mean, I think the biggest benefit, the biggest winners would probably be India and China. They're going to get cheaper energy. I just don't know how America was okay with it.
Because America doesn't like OPEC. Bro, America's energy independent now. Even though they still have to import oil, it's not as bad as the countries that are reliant on Strait of Hormuz in that way. Like places like Australia, I believe Australia, and I'm no expert, I think they're relying on Strait of Malacca and Strait of Hormuz simultaneously. Check that for me.
Strait
of Hormuz, Strait of Malacca, and Australia. Man, it'd be so good to get an expert on oil on here because it interests me a lot. The reason it interests me is only really two reasons. Number one, general interest, and number two, how I think this will affect the price of Bitcoin. They're the only reasons why I really look at this stuff, because everything for me reverts back to how does this affect my Bitcoin allocation. That's it, all this stuff. Because I don't trade oil myself. I don't invest in it. I don't trade it. None.
I mean, the Strait of Malacca is more between Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia.
But does that have to go from Strait of Hormuz and then through Strait of Malacca to Australia?
Correct. It goes via Strait of Hormuz before it goes to Strait of Malacca.
So Australia, just we'll touch on this and then go back to the UAE because I have a bold prediction. I don't know if even saying it is something that I want to say, but it's just something that I just have been thinking about and I just can't stop thinking about it. And I wonder if it'll be correct, so I'll put it out there publicly. So the first thing about Australia is because of its geography, they're pretty protected from a bloody conflict because it's just so far, man. The USA puts a few subs in there. USA, UK, Australia, it's real hard for them to be invaded. So that's a pro, but a con is that choke point because they're fucking lazy cunts when it comes to energy independence, or at least attempting to be. And they are reliant on Strait of Hormuz, Strait of Malacca. They're just reliant on what the fucking rest of the world does. I mean, it's actually Scary.